Hey, love bugs. Dr. Ashley Greer here. I want to talk to you today about the cultural script that is keeping you stuck and keeping you separated from your desires. I hear from client after client after client, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. I don't even know what's possible for me. And I want to share with you why this is, what exactly occurred in our culture to make this happen for you, and how this actually isn't your fault, but it is your responsibility to fix. You see, I used to live this life that was all dried up and khaki and just not very satisfying. I was in an engagement that didn't make me very happy. I was a practicing psychologist. I had a PhD psychology, very successful at psychology, and we owned a house, we had dogs, we had this life that looked super great on paper, and I was terribly dissatisfied. I was so unhappy. And what I did time after time was I kept pointing at myself and saying, what's wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Why am I not satisfied with what should make me happy, right? Why am I not satisfied with what should satisfy me? And instead of looking at my situation and saying it's because this is not what I really want, I constantly self-blamed, judged, shamed myself, and spiraled into guilt and depression and numbing and all of those things because I was so uncomfortable and so unhappy with my life, and there was no opportunity, no outlet available to me except for self-blame and saying it's my fault. Because this is what our culture teaches us. Our culture teaches us that if you're not happy, it's your fault. You need to suck it up, figure out a way to be happy in your life. Yes, there is a point to self-acceptance. Yes, there is a point to accepting the things we cannot control. But there are a heck of a lot of things that you can control, but you have been indoctrinated to believe that you cannot. So here, let me break it down for you. We are basically training our children to sit in little rows, to look straight forward and ahead, to watch the clock, to be little silent and quiet automatons, to not be these creative little geniuses that they are. Because guess what? That's what makes a really good factory worker. That's what makes a really good office worker and all those little cubicles, just like all those little school desks. That's what makes a really good worker bee, is sitting in little rows, being really quiet, not questioning authority, not asking yourself, why am I doing this? This really sucks. I mean, what 7-year-old wants to sit for 8 hours a day quiet and still? I sure the heck didn't. You probably didn't want to do it either. And so then we are taught from that age, we are basically indoctrinated to continue forward in our life, adopting this sense that we have to do whatever we can to be satisfied with what we are not satisfied with. We have to be consumers, because if I own more crap, if I have a bigger car, if I have a bigger TV, if I have more stuff, maybe I'll finally be happy. If I drink more wine, smoke more pot, if I, gamble more, have sex more, whatever it is that I'm doing that's an addictive behavior, maybe I'll be happier. If I numb myself more by watching more TV, by just turning off my emotions, by turning off my passionate resolve that life can be so much better, I will finally be happy, because my lack of happiness is my fault, because I should be happy with what I have. Bull. That is basically the idea that here is a crap sandwich, eat it. Because it's a sandwich, it's food, you should be happy with it. I'm sorry, I think I'd rather go get something else from the awesome buffet that is life, where you can go choose whatever the heck you want and be happy with this. See, we were just talking about this in my membership site, The Abundance Revolution, where each week, most weeks of the month, we do these amazing master classes that dive deep into releasing ourselves from these prisons that we've all decided to jump into in our life. We've decided because we've been indoctrinated and conditioned to jump into them. It's not your fault, people, but it is your responsibility to change. In this masterclass, we were talking about removing all of the limits on achieving our desires. This is part 3 of a 3-part masterclass on giving yourself what you really need, because you have to fulfill your needs before you're even going to know what you want. Because most people think that their desires, that what they want, their true desires, they're actually what they need. Like they need connection. But until they get connection, they're not going to be able to see that what I really, really desire is I want freedom, for example. Second point was understanding what it was that you wanted. Layering underneath it. You might think that you want $1 million, but why do you want $1 million? Do you want $1 million because you just want $1 million in your pocket? You're just going to walk around with $1 million in your pocket all the time? No, of course not. That's not why you want $1 million. You want $1 million so you can be happy, so that you can have freedom, so that you can enjoy more time with your friends and family. You can do those things now. The third workshop is this getting the things out of the way to achieve your desires. We broke it down and dug through some major limiting beliefs today that were all about all of these reasonable excuses that we tell ourselves for why we can't have what we really want. You see, back in that life that I was telling you about, that khaki life that I was telling you about, that I lived, that looked great on paper, that I should have been happy with, but I just could not get myself to be happy with, I was basically constantly giving myself reasons that I should suck it up and be happy, reasons that this should be working. What's wrong? You know, you have what everybody in life wants. You have a home, you have a fiance, you've got a car, you got all this stuff, you got a good job, you're successful at it. What's your problem? What's your problem, right? The big blinking sign over your head that goes, I have a problem. Which, guess what? Plant seeds in your subconscious mind that sprout up and cause all kinds of problems. Instead of saying, this is not what I want. Maybe you don't know my story yet, but what I did was I ended up quitting my job as a psychologist, starting my own business. I ended up leaving my ex-fiance, traveling the world. I now live in Bali, or who knows, by the time you watch this, I could live somewhere else because I want to, because it's what I really want. None of that stuff even seems like that big of a deal to me anymore. But 5 years ago, it seemed impossible to me because I was completely and utterly indoctrinated by this cultural narrative that we've all been enmeshed in our whole lives that say, this is the way it is, suck it up, buttercup, find a way to cope. Because life is suffering. No. You know, and I have a lot of spiritual folks who are going to say, well, the Buddha said that. Buddha said life is suffering. Buddha said life is suffering because it's our mind that makes us suffer. It's our mind that comes up with all of these reasonable excuses that convince us that the key to the prison cell is not sitting there in our own freaking hand. That's what suffering is. Suffering is knowing that the key to our prison is in our hand, and it has been our whole life. And we're pacing the cell wondering how the heck we're supposed to get out or how we're supposed to decorate our cell walls so that they're pretty so that we can deal with it for the rest of our lives. Life is not meant to be like just dealt with. Life is meant to be like the juiciest apple you've ever eaten in your life that you're just like, oh my God, this is what apples taste like. Life is an amazing, beautiful gift, and you can do anything you want. You are capable of anything. You can make choices to change your life. You just have to realize that you have been in a prison that has been culturally prescribed and indoctrinated in you and in everyone in our society for your entire life. But that the thing that they want you to know the least, the thing they're hiding from you the most, is that you have always had the key in your hand and that you can do things differently. And that you can make different choices. And that you don't have to be stuck or in resistance to those big dreams that you want, or settling for little itty-bitty dreams that seem reasonable. Because those big dreams seem like, I don't know, crazy pants. Like, who gets to have those things? I would have said that about myself 5 years ago. And now look at the life that I get to live. I cannot express this strongly enough. You are so powerful. You can do and be anything. You have the capacity to get out of your own way, to rewind all of that cultural narrative, conditioning, indoctrination that's been going on your whole life, and free yourself. But you've got to take responsibility for it. You've got to make a decision, and you've got to commit. Now, until next time, my name's Dr. Ashley Greer, and I help people like you live a hell yes life that is fully self-expressed, that is about putting themselves first. Not in a selfish way, because the people I work with are empaths, they're healers, They are the kindest, most gentlest people in the world, but in a self-first way that means that you are like the sun and you touch everything around you with your brilliance and your brightness, and you brighten everything around you just by being yourself, just by nourishing yourself, just by saying, I can actually have what I desire, and everyone can win by me doing so. Now, I want you to subscribe to my channel or like my page or wherever you're seeing this. And until next time, I love you, and I'll see you there. Bye.